Massive partner in brief of ongoing progress work on the shutdown of Lagos Infra
bring all the traffic into this direction.
We are going to work to ensure that better during the day access to traffic. If we don't do what we need to do now, the road will.
Good day and welcome to another interesting episode of your program, Infrastructure Weekly. I am Abosede Omowi. On this episode of the program, we will as usual take you around project sites all over the country. From power to housing and roads, we'll be bringing to you the activities of the Buhari administration to expand commerce and enhance sustainable economic development. Join us after this break as we set still. Stay tuned.
Coming together of opportunities. This is what
Infrastructure is the backbone of development, which explains the Buhari government's effort at bridging the facility gap. Infrastructure Weekly is a television package designed to bring you latest information on hundreds of development projects going on in various sectors all over the nation.
there is no state in Nigeria today where you will not see our contractors busy at work.
Power generation, rural electrification, road rehabilitations, national housing scheme, construction of roads and rail lines across the country, you name it.
We are now able to produce 7,000 megawatt of power. That is no longer debatable.
Infrastructure Weekly is Nigerians working together for a better Nigeria. So be better informed to take better informed decisions. Watch Infrastructure Weekly, showing on Channels Television Thursdays 2:30 p.m., NTA Network Wednesdays 5 p.m., and QTV News Fridays at 8 p.m. Infrastructure Weekly, making development known.
The federal government has reiterated its commitment to the infrastructure development of Nigeria. Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, made this disclosure in Lagos in a meeting with social groups to give a scorecard of the Buhari administration in the power, works and housing sector 3 years on. The minister said the federal government will continue to improve on the nation's infrastructure to ensure the breaking of barriers and enhance national economic development through commerce.
Infrastructure development in Nigeria has always been on the front burner, especially as it affects the nation's ability to provide sustainable infrastructure, and 16 years of relatively high oil prices in the world market was a source of optimism for many. But the 16 years was a story of neglect for Nigeria's critical infrastructure, from roads to power and housing to rails. It was a story of neglect, with many wondering if the stories were indeed true. The inauguration of the Muhammadu Buhari administration laid bare the issues needed to be addressed to put the nation in the path of development. Over 200 road contracts valued at over 2 trillion naira were abandoned, with only just above 18 billion naira budgeted for roads in Nigeria in the 2015 budget by the Jonathan administration. Many cried foul over what was termed inadequate despite the quantum of resources available to the country between 1999 and 2015. The advent of the Buhari administration and the appointment of former Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola as Minister of the combined Ministry of Power, Works and Housing was seen by many as a masterstroke. 3 years on from the inauguration of the Buhari administration, the federal government is giving an update at this forum in Lagos with social clubs. According to the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, the government has improved in the sectors under his watch.
Now, we haven't finished all the roads, but one of the objectives of the infrastructure spending first is to get the economy back to production, and we're seeing that production is already on the way. Demand for bitumen, demand for building materials, mining, laterite, sand, rocks is going on, and those who are in the mining business will tell you this.
Going further, he disclosed that an appreciable level of improvement has been achieved in the power sector in all the 3 legs of the value chain. He however added that challenges remain which the government is working to address, but that the story of today is different from that of 2015.
You will recall that even the distribution companies were complaining that they didn't have enough power to sell. You will remember that period. That story has changed. Generation of power has moved from about 4,000 megawatts to 7,000 megawatts. And as I said in that documentary, I know where almost 1,000 megawatts is coming from this year, standing here.
In the housing sector, the minister disclosed that the National Housing Program has so far been an unqualified success, one that is the second attempt by any government in the history of Nigeria to put in place measures to address the issue of housing on a national scale.
Not only are we piloting housing, we are also assisting people to get housing. So the Federal House Mortgage Bank is issuing mortgages from the pool of National Housing Fund. We are trying to expand that pool to people outside the formal government system. We think that drivers, artisans, bricklayers can also contribute to that pool and draw from it, because it is the only place where, one of the few places, if not the only place, where you can get mortgage loans at about 6%. But you need to contribute to be able to draw. So we want to expand the scope beyond government workers to cooperatives and all of them who can then draw.
On what the government has done differently to achieve results against what was obtainable before now, he said the government is doing more with less.
For almost 70 years, our economy grew, our population grew, we didn't expand our port. And at the time we were expanding, we were already in a port crisis. That was when we built the Tinkan Island port and designed the road out of Tinkan, Coconut, all through Mile 2. I was a teenager there, I was about 13.
Members of the audience had questions to ask on what the situation is right now after his opening statement.
We have seen your hand in these three key ministries. I want to ask, this interaction today, will it be extended to other states? We have 36 states and the federal capital territory. Will it be extended to other 36 states? Because there are certain things I didn't know before that I'm knowing as I am here today.
The people in the corridor, one thing I just want to ask on their behalf is, what is the sense and how are you planning to take care of this road? Especially let there be a collective measure for now, before the roads get.
In response, the minister said the federal government will continue to do what is necessary to address the nation's infrastructural gap, but added that projects will not be started for the sake of it.
All of these things will come through. There is nothing wrong with us, at least not our country. But we just have to ask ourselves, what did we do yesterday? And should we continue? Should we continue to import rice? Should we continue to earn $100 per barrel and not invest them in ports?
He called the Nigerians to be prepared for the battle ahead between what they rejected and what they want.
And the road will collapse.
In the power sector, operators in the sector under the aegis of the Association of Distribution Companies of Nigeria say they are ready and willing to partner with the federal government to ensure the sector delivers on its promise and benefits for all Nigerians. They also added that the strategic nature of the sector to national development is one that is behind their decision to reiterate their commitment to the sector's development.
With his background as a former head of state, the later chairman of the Petroleum Trust Fund, it is clear that President Muhammadu Buhari understands that the provision or absence of infrastructure in the country has a lot to do with the psychology and progress of the people. Since he assumed the mantle of leadership in May 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari has taken up the challenge of rebuilding the country's dilapidated electricity infrastructure across the 6 geopolitical zones. The Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors reassures President Muhammadu Buhari and the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, of their commitment to working with his government in achieving the objectives of the power sector reform. a critical component of its economic recovery and growth plan.
We believe it is important we're in partnership with him as he seeks to find the balance of policy, investment, and electricity consumer interests that will ensure a commercially viable and sustainable Nigerian electricity supply industry.
The distribution companies advocate for collaboration between all stakeholders in the power sector to improve electricity supply to consumers.
For our fellow operators and stakeholders along the nesting value chain, please do not doubt that in these very trying times in our sector, I believe that there are better days ahead. We believe that there are better days ahead. But to achieve better days ahead in this industry, there's need for more collaboration, cooperation. All stakeholders need to be talking to each other. We cannot have a system where everyone seems to be doing their own thing.
Investors say there is need to address the power sector tariff gap in order to improve metering, customer service, increase connections that electricity consumers demand and deserve.
We are also committed to improving service delivery to our long-suffering electricity consumers. Categorically, until the tariff gap is addressed by the government, we do not see a pathway to meeting both commitments.
We are not a quitter. We are here to solve the problem, and we need the cooperation of everyone, from government to the smallest man in the village, to join hands together with us as an investor to turn around the power sector.
Indeed, there is no avoidance that power is fundamental to the prospect for growing the economy and improving the quality of life for Nigerians.
For comments, inquiries, and feedback, you can get in touch with us on Twitter at infra_weekly and on Facebook at facebook.com/infrastructureweekly. We move on now to the road sector. The federal government has reiterated its commitment to the provision of adequate infrastructure to power the nation's economic development. Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism, Lai Mohammed, disclosed this while inspecting the Ilorin-Jeba-Mokwa Road. The minister said the government has a mandate from Nigerians for the provision of infrastructure and will not fail. Let's take a listen.
The Ilorin-Jeba Road in Kwara State is part of the Lagos-Algiers Road called the Trans-Sahara Roads, which cuts across the west and north of Africa. The Ilorin-Jeba section is only 93.6 kilometers long, and this road connects the southwest geopolitical zones to the northern part of the country. The traffic on the road is heavy in volume, and a substantial part of the traffic are heavily loaded trucks due to the import and export of goods through Lagos port. The average daily traffic for trucks only on the road is about 7,500, while light vehicles accounts for about 7,000. However, most of the vehicles abandoned the road before the rehabilitation took place. The Baale of Bode Sadu in Moro local government area of Kwara State, Bola Yusuf, commended the federal government for the reconstruction of the Ilorin-Jeba Road.
We appreciate it a great deal, and we want to assure you that people in this community will do all they can to protect this. We see it as a very important asset, and we wish your government we have tasted and we are still tasting the beginning of democracy, and it is our trust that we continue. It's terrible. You couldn't do anything. I mean, I practice law in Lagos. You couldn't do anything. You can't come home at will. Our market closed down because people were not secure. They couldn't come. There's a big cattle market here. We have our local market here. People can't just do anything.
The road, which was constructed over 30 years ago, was abandoned by motorists for about 10 years due to its complete collapse. Trucks which had no alternatives were spending 3 to 5 days to transit this 93-kilometer road from Ilorin to Jeba before the intervention of the federal government. Currently, completion period has been extended to 28 December 2018. The scope of work includes but not limited to roadworks, which are clearing, earthworks, scarification of works existing asphalt surfacing in cracks and rotting, construction and extension to existing culverts and backfilling of culverts.
The road has been completed, 100% completed by the contractor. The contract was awarded at the contract for a cost of 14.579 billion naira, and the contractor has been paid. So, and you can see the road has been completed from the beginning to the end with road signs, road markings as well. Where you proceed, you will see. So, and the quality of work is whatever international standard. So it's comparable to any quality all over the world.
The surface was undulating and there was a lot of failure at this particular location. What we did here, the remedy was that we excavated up to 0.6 meters. And after the excavation, we reinstate it with boulders. After the boulders, we lay our stone base, our binder course, and our wearing course. That is on the carriageway. Subsequently, on all, we have about 38 fell sections from here to Mokwa, where we stopped. And the shoulders also, we have reinstated them. We have also built 2-cell, that's one number 2-cell box culvert. Remember, there was a time that they said another bridge has collapsed. The layman doesn't differentiate between a culvert and a bridge. It wasn't a bridge. The bridge is at Tatabu. This road was terribly bad, to a point that minister said some vehicles spend about 3 or 4 days. Some, they spend 1 week or 2 weeks.
With the rehabilitation of the Ilorin-Jeba-Mokwa Road and the reconstruction of the Tatabu Bridge in Niger State, the volume of traffic is directly contributing to reviving the economy, with large amounts of goods and services being ferried from the west to the northern part of Nigeria. And for the minister, it is in line with the administration's promise to provide infrastructure. Since the kickstarting of a nationwide tour of federal government infrastructural projects in May 2018, the minister has inspected about 10 federal government projects, including the Lagos-Ibadan Standard Gauge Rail Line, Lagos-Ibadan, Oyo-Ogbomosho, and Port Harcourt Expressways, and the Second Niger Bridge.
Join us after this break for more on the program. Don't go away.
London, New York or Lagos, business or holiday, home or office, you can now carry out your tax transactions from anywhere in the world. You can now file all your tax returns, pay online, get a receipt and even process your tax clearance certificate from anywhere in the world online and in real time. All you need to do is log on to www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-services and be introduced to the world of innovation, convenience and transparency from the FIRS. You can also pay stamp duty as you register a new company with the CAC, or for other transactions that require stamp duty payment online. You can also file your withholding tax returns and determine the withholding tax deducted from you is in government coffers so that you can get your receipt within 45 days as long as the deduction has been remitted. Yes, all of this and more online at www.firs.gov.ng/e-services. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC. Please note that all FIRS services are free of charge. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
The housing sector has suffered more in the infrastructure deficit currently confronting Nigeria as a nation with several failed programs at all levels. This background was probably the reason behind the deliberate and planned second national housing program by the Muhammadu Buhari-led administration, following on from the first put in place by the Shehu Shagari administration. The first national housing program, according to experts, was a good product that came at the wrong time, leading to apathy by most Nigerians. The National Housing Program, taking this into consideration, is designed with all the nation's geopolitical zones in mind. The current one, which is in its pilot phase, is to ensure that it is widely acceptable to all Nigerians before it is now built on a much higher scale than is currently being done. Some of the houses are already at the pre-handover inspection stage. Let's take you to the project site in both Edo and Delta State for a progress report.
The ongoing national housing program by the federal government in Benin, Edo State, is generating over 3,000 employments for skilled and unskilled workers, including contractors, artisans, building material suppliers, block molders, as well as empowerment to families within the locality and Nigeria at large. Julius Ibekwe is a beneficiary and his wife a food vendor at the site. Regina Ibekwe commends the federal government for creating means of livelihood for some of them through the project, while stating that she earns about 35,000 naira daily. The Ibekwe couple has generated money to take care of their children's education and also bought a land to build their own house.
I benefited very well. So my wife is selling here. She's making money. I am working for them very well. Their things are not losing, so the community is good also. They are not coming here to take what does not belong to them.
I thank God for giving me opportunity this hour to speak. I thank God as open here for me, and they say well, and that they use the money where I say here, they train my children.
The 64-unit housing project is located at Edumwen, Eigie, along Benin-Auchi Road in Umwode local government area of the state. During an inspection tour by the Ministry of Power Works and Housing, site managers say the ongoing project has about 12 different contractors and is at 80% completion stage.
The quality is good, specification is very good. And the bottom line of this project is that everything we are using is from Nigeria. Nothing is imported. From the cement to the doors, they are all locally made.
Since we have been working, we employ so many people, and then the atmosphere is good. We are enjoying the work.
My income has enhanced, and I've had the opportunity to also get more experience as it has to do with house building.
I am a carpenter here. And with the work I am doing here, I feed my family and pay my children's school fees. So I thank God.
Road construction is also ongoing at the site for easy access to the housing estate, which will in turn boost economic activities in the state.
The project is ongoing. By the special grace of God, as you can see, the work is moving. Okay. My equipments are here. We have been able to clear the site, and we're facing the topsoil on the site. As soon as we evacuate the topsoil, then filling is the next.
The National Housing Estate in Aniola North Local Government Area of East Sele Azagba, Delta State, has 68 units of residential buildings and a condominium of 24 units. It has created over 1,000 employment opportunities for the people, and the construction of houses also includes schools and recreation centers.
We are doing this project for the benefit of the public. The benefit is twofold. There's economic benefit on the workers, the community, the contractors, and even the staff, in-house staff, because everything is local content, 100%.
It's need for us to provide adequate security here. So we have to meet with the police and with the SSS. But for now, there's no security situation in this place. This place is peaceful, and that's why you can see workers working conveniently without any problem.
The electrical infrastructure contractor is already on course. This estate is going to have a good electrical distribution system comprising of transformers, overhead distribution unit, street lighting. So when you may be passing through here, when the estate is finally finished, you think it is another Dubai. Because if you have ever been to Dubai,
in the night, you think it is daylight. So everywhere will be lighted up.
With all these positive projects across the country by the President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government, its objectives are to address and improve socio-economic conditions through employment generation, poverty alleviation, and empowerment of Nigerians.
That's all on this week's episode of Infrastructure Weekly. Join us again for another interesting episode of the program. Until then, continue to support the infrastructure agenda of the Buhari administration by paying your tax. Also, take ownership of public utilities around you and protect them from vandalization. Baraka Desala. Join us again next week. I am Abbasadi Omowi.